FDA has just approved its first 2 new weight loss drugs in 13 years. And we have Melinda Beck here with us to talk to us about what's been going on in the weight loss industry and why this is such a change. I guess it sounded like this has been something that's a long time coming. Why have weight loss drugs gotten such a bad rap?
Well, Kelly, there's been a long list of drugs that were approved at one point and then taken off the market when it turned out they had really serious side effects, including some deaths in some cases. So the FDA has been very, very cautious. But even apart from that, a number of weight loss doctors have been very quietly prescribing prescription drugs that have weight loss as a side effect for decades now. Yes, some are off-label, but some are still on-label. There was a whole group of stimulants that the FDA approved back in the 1950s, including Phentermine,
way back when.
that have never been taken off the market and are still out there.
Excellent. And so talk to me a little bit about some of these different drugs, what you might see in terms of off-label use. What drugs are we talking about here?
Well, there is this group of stimulants, and Phentermine is really the most widely prescribed. This was half of the popular fen-phen combination. The other half, fenfluramine, was taken off the market, but Phentermine has remained on the market. It's a part of the stimulant class, and 16 million prescriptions were written in the last 10 years for it. There's several others in that same group, like Montrol and Tenuate. Some of the ADHD medications also have appetite suppression as a side effect, but all of these drugs have side effects, and they should not be used by people who have high blood pressure or heart disease, so they're not harmless.
And so they don't go and look for someone else's ADHD medication.
Absolutely.
This is definitely something you still want to talk to a doctor about.
Right.
Make sure you're the right candidate for it.
And there's some diabetes medications that also have weight loss as a side effect, as well as lowering the amount of glucose in your bloodstream. A couple of the antidepressants. There is quite a group out there that weight loss specialists have been using quietly.
And now, how could these 2 new drugs change that market? Do you think we'll see less of this sort of these other prescriptions, or this is just one more avenue for people who are obese and want to do something about it?
I think there'll be a lot of interest, certainly in the beginning, and both of these drugs are going to come on the market in the fall. One of them, Qsymia, is a combination of Phentermine and Topiramax, which is an anti-migraine drug that a lot of doctors have been prescribing together all along. But this will give a new, more convenient way to take it in a single drug. And we may also see doctors who are primary care physicians, not necessarily obesity specialists, prescribing these.
Okay. And I was interested to see in your article you talk about some of the red flags that consumers might want to look for. That if you think you're a candidate for this, but you want to make sure that you've got the right doctor, what are we looking for here to make sure we're not getting
Kelly,
sold?
this whole area is just fraught with quackery and all kinds of unsubstantiated claims.
All those ads I see online, you're telling me that's not real?
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
Well, it can be very hard to tell. Basically, as a rule, I think you're safer if you do not buy any prescription medications over the internet. You really need to be seen by an MD that you can actually, who will examine you, who will talk to you about the pros and cons. Many of these obesity specialists that are doing this kind of prescribing are members of one of the professional associations, like the American Board of Obesity Medicine, so that's something to look for. Also, members of that group told me you should beware of doctors who are selling and otherwise dispensing medications from their own offices. That's kind of a red flag. And make sure that there aren't 50 people waiting for the same medication there in the office. That kind of smacks of a medication mill, and those are out there.